right.
Have a seat, yes. We're joined by Coach Keatts. We will ask Coach to make an opening statement, and then if you would raise your hand so we can get a microphone to you when you have a question. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, we're extremely excited to have the opportunity to play against a very good Virginia team. When you look at us, we're proud to be back in the NCAA tournament. I thought we learned so much from the game that we played against Duke last year, and I think our guys are prepared and ready to go. We have a lot of respect for Virginia. Obviously, Tony has done a tremendous job with that program. When you look at it, they're one of the best defensive teams in the country, and we've got to do a lot of things to be able to score against those guys. We've had a tremendous season. I'm very proud of these guys. When you think about, having a target on your chest all year long, being picked number one, and obviously winning the regular season and the tournament championship, and 29 games is impressive, and we're excited once again about our opportunities.
Okay, we have a question in the center aisle in the second row, and then we'll come to the front row, and then we'll go back to my right.
Kevin, David Teal from Newport News. How you doing? You mentioned you learned so much from Duke last year. What specifically were those lessons?
Well, I think if you came in the locker room after that game, you would see that our guys were really disappointed. Disappointed because we really felt like that we could win the game. And a lot of times as a mid-major, when you come into this tournament, you're excited to be here. For us, we felt like we could have won the game. And then I will tell you this now, we've taken that game, and our guys have went to work over in the spring and the summer, and they've gotten better in a lot of areas. And, we got some guys who played in that game last year who, look forward to another opportunity.
You mentioned your offense. Devontae's shooting almost 80% from the floor, which would shatter the national record. What allows him to finish so well around the rim as often as he does?
Well, I've got to do a better job of getting him the ball, too, if he's shooting 80%, which is good. No, you know what? He's done a tremendous job. He is, if you look at and I can pick a lot of guys off our team, but if you look at probably the most improved guy, I think, in the country, it would be Devontae Keatts. He allows our offense to flow. Probably one of the best finishers that I've ever had as a coach. I like to compare him to Montrezl Harrell, who we had at Louisville. Also Kenneth Farid. He's really good around the basket. He knows how to finish. He plays with a motor. He runs the floor well, and a tremendous offensive rebounder.
Front row on our left, and then we'll go to the right.
Coach A.J. Ricketts, WECT Wilmington. You've done a great job all season long of kind of keeping out the noise from the team, from the preseason expectations to throughout the regular season. Does that ever become more difficult once the tournament hits and become a trendy 12-5 upset pick? How difficult is it to keep the noise out this time of year compared to regular season CAA play?
Well, AJ, that's a great question, and I know I say this all the time. We literally just concentrate on the next game. And with our guys, we've got a weird bunch, man. I love this group. It's the best group that I've ever coached. When they get on the bus or they get on the plane, 5 minutes from when they get on the plane, you don't even know they're back there. They don't get caught up in, though I know they read social media, I know they own Snapchat and all of that Twitter stuff, I don't think that it affects those guys at all. And like, we try to stay in the moment, and that's been great for us because, when you play in a league like the CAA, you've got so many good opponents, and you got to really just focus on the team that you're playing.
Third row in the center aisle.
Coach Keatts, Jermaine Farrell, WFXR TV in Roanoke, Virginia. Just a question for you. Obviously, you being a Lynchburg native, growing up in that area, your thoughts and feelings about the University of Virginia basketball program when you were growing up?
Well, it's a tremendous program, and you hit it. I started, I was born and raised in Lynchburg, Virginia, and when you're in Lynchburg or you grow up in North Carolina, you don't know anything about. The only things you know about is the ACC, and I was fortunate enough to know about the ACC and the CAA, obviously when they had Richmond, Old Dominion, and George Mason in their league. But I've got a tremendous respect for Virginia. It's a beautiful school. It's a beautiful campus. It's an hour and 15 minutes from where I grew up. I actually even got a text from Ralph Sampson today.
The front row on our left, and then we'll go to the back of the room standing up.
Okay, I have to ask, what did the text from Ralph say?
You know, I couldn't figure it out. He said, call me. So I don't know if he was trying to get information from me or not. But, you know, I've known Ralph for a long time, unbelievable guy. What a college career he had. And I'm not going to call him back until the game's over because I don't want to be put in that situation where he may ask me some questions.
When you talk about Virginia and the style of play, a couple of your guys mentioned JMU and other teams that you played that tried to slow the pace down. What are the things you have to do to kind of play the game at your pace and not let it get into their style?
Well, I don't know that, and here's a weird thing, all the tape that I've watched on those guys, I don't know that you can speed them up. But that being said, we're going to try to speed them up. I think we got to do a good job of, you know, trying to get out and get some fast break points. I think you have to have a lot of player and ball movement. I think their defense is best when you're just standing around a lot. I do think that we got to try to get in our press. What's tough about pressing those guys is that if you don't score, you can't press, and you know that's a tough thing about it. I mean, this is probably the best defense that we're going to face, you know, since I've been at UNCW.
Okay, we have one standing up in the back, and then we'll come up front and in the middle.
Coach, I'm Ryan Fagan with Sporting News. I'm curious, you mentioned the experience last year and how you've seen the team grow. Are there any experiences, any moments along the year you can share where you thought, hey, this doesn't happen if we're not in that situation last year?
Well, I thought that, you know, here's a crazy thing about this team, man, and I got to go back to the Duke game for this, is that we don't panic when we're down. There's always a calmness, and we go into when we go into huddles or if we're down at halftime, there's not a panic to us because in our mind, obviously after playing the games last year and winning the tournament and doing it the same way this year, we always feel that we have an opportunity to win the game because obviously we press a lot and we're in great shape. So we figure if we, over a 40-minute game, towards the end, it'll turn to our favor just because our conditioning.
Front row on our left, then we have two in the aisle.
Rachel Axon from USA Today. If we could take a bit of a long view, not just on Virginia, but over the past couple years, how you've been able to build this program back, what has that taken in terms of expectations, your style? How have you been able to get UNCW back to this stage?
Well, that's a great question. You know, and when I took the job 3 years ago, you know, the first week of practice, I said to myself, what did I just do? I was obviously leaving Louisville where we went to 2 Final Fours and a Sweet 16. But one thing about those guys that were in the program that we inherited, you could tell they wanted to win. And certainly what I didn't do is I didn't go out and just take whoever was available and just try to fill a roster. So we basically played with 7 or 8 guys, but I knew in order to win, we had to get those guys in great shape. After that, I had 3 guys that were sitting out. Those 3 guys became really special players for us for our second year, added with the guys who had won 18 games the first year, and then we went 25. And then the 2 sophomores, C.J. Bryce and Devontae Kaycock, you add those guys and how better they've gotten, and then certainly you got UNCW right now. But, you know, we worked extremely hard. You know, I told these guys at the beginning that we wouldn't make excuses. We would play extremely hard. And as I said before, we wanted to pride ourselves on being the best conditioned team in the country.
Okay, we have 2 on the center aisle and then up front again.
Kevin, what's your philosophy on graduate transfers, and what has Ambrose brought from Old Dominion?
Well, I didn't like it at first because obviously it typically works against the mid-majors. We were fortunate to land Ambrose because we had some connections with him playing at Hargrave Military Academy where I was a coach there. So it's been great for me. It's a tough deal, you know, if you're a coach, especially at the mid-major level, because I think it comes down to sometimes people being able to recruit guys off of your roster. We lost C.J. Geddes to Rutgers because he's a 5th-year graduate transfer. That being said, I'm very happy for CJ because of the opportunity that he had to go play high major. And, you know, for me, I think a kid should be, if he graduates and he wants to go, I think every coach should accept the fact that the young man might not want to be in your program anymore. Not the case for CJ Geddes that he didn't necessarily want to be at UNCW, but I think he wanted to look at other opportunities, and I'm okay with that.
Center aisle.
Yeah, Coach, Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun. Coach, you've referenced Louisville a few times. I'm just curious what you've taken from Coach Pitino, not just you know, in style of play, but preparing for tournament play as well.
Well, I thought you were going to take a shot at Coach Pitino about UVA, and I wasn't going to answer that. As you know, Coach he's got a tremendous sense of humor. I did call him and said, do you have any advice about playing UVA? And, of course, he said, the best thing you should probably do is call Notre Dame. Obviously, Notre Dame just beat those guys. But he's great. When you talk about a professional, you want to talk about a guy who's been to won national championships and been to many Final Fours and a lot of NCAAs. And I think the best thing that, I've taken from him to enjoy the ride, because that's a good thing. And we don't take this for granted. When you think about making the NCAA, I've been fortunate enough to be part of 5 of those, 3 at Louisville and 2 here, and it never gets old. When your name's called on Selection Sunday, that's a beautiful thing.
We have one in the front row on our left.
Kevin, too, and they're unrelated. Jordan Talley, what's he like in the locker room? What's he like to coach? What does he bring to the program? And then you touched on Hargrave. What did you take from that experience, and how did that help you kind of get where you are?
Well, Jordan Talley is a great energy guy. He's done a tremendous job, and he was the first guy that I brought in, the only guy I brought in that first year, and he was a starter. To his credit, he's obviously been okay with a guy like Denzel Ingram starting and coming off and playing a great role for us. He's becoming a great point guard for us. I thought in the CAA tournament a couple weeks ago, he did a great job of running the show and picked and choose his moments and everything else. But what a great defensive guy. He's a very emotional guy. Sometimes that's great, and sometimes we've got to, kind of settle him down a little bit. But we love Jordan Talley. When you look at it, he could go down as the winningest player in the history of UNCW. He's got 3 regular season championships. He's got 2 tournament championships, and he's been to 2 NCAAs. As far as Hargrave go, what a great experience that was for me. I spent 12 years there, and of those 12 years, I was a head coach for 10 years. During those 10 years, I learned a lot. I had a chance to make out practice plans. I had a chance to call timeouts. I had a chance to make mistakes when nobody cared. We had great players who came through the program. That place is dear to my heart because certainly it gave me the opportunity to really grow as a basketball coach.
We'll stay in the front row.
Coach, I want to ask about Chuck Aboto real quick. Oftentimes it's the unheralded players can help a team advance to the next round sometimes in the NCAA tournament. For Chuck, he's a guy that's been here for 4 years, or been at UNC Wilmington for 4 years before you got there. And there was obviously the talks of maybe him transferring this past year, but that didn't happen. It wasn't the ideal start to his senior year, but then he's played a key role in some games. What are your thoughts on him as he gets set to finish his career at UNC Wilmington?
Well, I thought he's come along lately, and he's done a great job. And what's happened to us is obviously because Devontae Caycock is playing so well, a lot of people try to get him in foul trouble, and he's gotten in foul trouble a few games. And I have to give Chuck credit as a guy who was buried on the bench, who was a guy who's a senior. He's come in the game and gave us great lift, and he's playing really good basketball. I tell everybody I've been saving him for this moment. That's why I didn't play him so much earlier.
Far end of the front row.
Kevin, was there ever a time that you thought you would be at Hargrave for the rest of your career, and what prompted you to make the move to college in Louisville?
That's a great question. I don't know if all of you guys know, at Fork Union, there's a legendary coach, Fletcher Erd, and he just retired a few years ago. And at one point, I thought I was going to be Fletcher Erd, and I thought that was the best thing in the world because Fletcher stayed there for over 40 years. A tremendous person, a tremendous mentor. He's done a lot for prep school basketball. That being said, after a couple of years, I had the opportunity to go to Marshall, and I was young, and all I saw was Division I, and I jumped on it and had a great time at Marshall, worked for a wonderful man and Greg White, but honestly, I missed it. And so I wanted to go back and work with the guys at the grassroots level. And so I went back for 8 more years, and 8 great years. I mean, we had a great record. I sent a lot of guys to Division I. We helped a lot of guys academically and to grow as men. But I got the call of a lifetime when the job opened up at Louisville, and it's hard to say no to Rick Pitino, especially, obviously being a Hall of Fame coach and, all that he's done for basketball and so many, coaches and players that he's mentored. and I had to take it. And I'm glad I did, because without that opportunity, that experience, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Coach, thank you very much. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.